Hello everybody and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Zoe here from Learning Boosters. You can find us at www.learningboosters.com.au and also on Instagram at instagram.com/learningboostersmentor. So today's Wisdom Wednesday is all about study, and I've got a whole heap of tips to actually share with you. So the best thing to do around that exam time, of course, is to prioritise your study. So creating a study timetable will enable you to prioritise what courses need to be, what amount of time needs to be given to each course or each subject. And it's really good to allocate some specific time for each study, for each subject, that particularly those subjects that you need more work with or more help with than other subjects. So let's talk about some study timetable tips. So I'm going to give you 4 main tips on study timetables because sometimes people get a bit overwhelmed by them. The most effective study amount of time is 45 minutes. So this is the time between, when you actually start and when you finish. Put a timer on, time yourself for 45 minutes, take a small break, and then get back to whatever it is that you're studying. It's a more effective use of time, and it's a more effective use of your brain space as well, and concentration space. So 45-minute slots for each study time, 5-10-minute break in between. Get up, have a move around, have a bit of a stretch, have a drink, and maybe a bit of food if you need that. Study is best done when you're most mentally alert. Now, this can be different for each person. I've known some of my friends when they've been studying, the best time for them is at night time, when they're more mentally alert, or early in the morning. So it's really up to you when you prioritise your study and when you make those study times, whether it's during the day or whether it's at night time. It's just a thing to get used to your body pattern and think about, when am I actually more mentally alert? For me personally, it was sort of later morning after lunch. So I'd usually do a couple of 45-minute sessions in the morning, then I'd have some lunch and do another couple of 45-minute sessions in the afternoon. So I'd be doing, 4 to 6 hours a day studying when I had exams coming up. I'd suggest that you give more time to those subjects that you don't like as much and or that you're having more trouble with. So this is so that you perform better over all of your subjects. And it might be a subject that you might actually fail. So you don't need as much time spent in the areas that you're really good at. You need to spend more time in those areas that need a little bit of work and that you need a little bit of more effort to get through. Try and keep a balance, and I know that can be hard, and really there's no such thing as balance. So keep yourself balanced and include time to socialise while you study. That's really important. Time to exercise, and even if you're going to work while you're studying, of course, you need time to do that. And more so that you don't overload yourself with study and burn yourself out. That's a really easy thing to do when you're actually studying, particularly when you're studying and working and family and all the rest of it combined together. So make sure your study timetable is somewhere you can see it. So you might have a few copies. I used to have a copy in my room where I studied, because I'd never studied in my bedroom. My bedroom was for sleeping and resting. It wasn't for studying. So I used to have an area in the house where I used to have a desk and I used to study there. So I used to have a timetable there. I used to have a timetable on my phone, and I used to put a timetable on a fridge. Just slight memory, reminding myself of what I need to be doing. And it also helps you to keep in that routine that you need, and it helps you to set those those goals for your overall exam goals that you will have. But also remember that everybody is different. So different methods actually work for different people. So the following ones that I'm going to talk about now are only some suggestions, and you can pick and choose out of that, you know, which best suits you. It's best to review material right after you've actually had a class, when it's still fresh in your memory. Okay, if you try and review it later on, you can look at your notes and you go, now what was I trying to say there? Because your notes might have made sense when you just come out of the class, but you know, a week or two later, they don't make as much sense. Don't try to do all your studying the night before an exam, and believe you me, I have done that once or twice. It's not really a good space to be in. Instead, you need to pace out your studying and review those class materials often, you know, even several times a week, and you need to focus on one topic at a time. It's a really good idea too. Have all your study materials in front of you, so your lecture notes, your course textbooks, any study guides and any other relevant material that you may actually need to study that particular subject. Have it all together in one folder, or however you like to keep it. So each subject needs its own little folder or compartment or whatever you want to use. Find a comfortable and quiet place to study. That's a fairly obvious one, really, with good lighting and very little distractions. So try to avoid your own bed, because you're actually going to just want to go to sleep, or you want to just go lie down and chill out. And it's not the best environment to be actually studying in. So find a place in the house where you are not going to be distracted, where there's really good lighting and where you've got everything around you that you actually need. Make it a regular spot in the house. Start out by studying the most important information. Now, that can be a difficult one to decide what is the most important information. Well, in regards to that, you can actually look at old exam papers, and they should have them if you study in university, and even some matriculation colleges have their old exam study papers that people can go over and look at. Usually find them in the library, or ask your lecturer or your teacher, where can I find out what's the most important information that I need for this actual exam. Learn the general concepts first, so you're just generalising the subjects. Don't worry too much about learning the details until you've got the main ideas under your belt. Take notes, write down a summary of the most important ideas for each subject as you read through your study material. Take short breaks, again, frequently, because your memory will retain information that you've studied at the beginning better than at the end. So make sure that you have frequent and short breaks, just to give your mind a bit of a break. And sometimes when you know something's not processing and you're not retaining it, sometimes I even say to my students, just look out the window for 5 seconds, just look out there. And I ask them a question that has nothing to do with the work that they're doing. And then they come back and their mind is reset to take in the information that they need. Space out your studying. You'll learn more by studying a little every day instead of waiting to cram it in at the last moment. I mentioned that before. By studying every day, the materials will stay in your long-term memory, which is what you want. So try not to study at the last moment, because it can take a little while to get from your short-term memory into your long-term memory for you to retain it, to then able to basically regurgitate it in the exam. Make sure that you understand the material well and the concepts that are in the material. Don't just read through the material and try to memorise it. I used to write it down, just keywords. I wouldn't write in sentences. I would never study in sentences, but I would have keywords with a very short explanation on what that keyword meant, so it'd help remind me, bring the information from the long-term memory back into the short term to get it out. If you choose to study in a group, only study with others who are serious about their test or their exam. Pretty obvious statement, but it goes without saying that if you're studying or trying to study with a group of people who keep chatting about other things or that aren't concentrating on what they're meant to actually be learning, it's really hard for you to actually be learning for an exam in that sort of environment if they're just having fun and mucking around and talking about things that have nothing to do with the subject. Makes it really hard. So it makes the job harder for you to actually learn for your exams or tests. So just make sure that you're actually learning with people that have got the same frame of mind that you have. Test yourself or have someone else test you on the material to find out exactly what it is that you know and that you don't know. We tend to be, us humans, creatures of I'll stay and keep practicing what I know, and then we'll have huge gaps in our knowledge that we might need for the exam, simply because we stay on what we know and we don't practice what we don't know. That makes sense. So you can review the questions at the end of each chapter when you've done a chapter if you're using a book on the subject, and you can practice the tests. As I said, lots of practice tests that the teachers give out, or other pertinent materials that if you go to your lecturer or your teacher and say, I really want to know what's going to be in the exam, can you give me some overall ideas of what's going to be in it? They will usually give you a fair idea on what's going to be in it. Again, listen to some relaxing music. I know that a lot of people, there's people that have different types of likes when it comes to music, but believe it or not, classical or jazz music or, atmospheric music is a lot more helpful when you're actually learning information to retain for an exam or test, because the heavy rock music or the grunge music or whatever, the heavier music, actually is not as conducive to learning as, say, classical or jazz, or, as I said, the atmospheric sort of music. Don't study later than the time you usually go to sleep. So again, if you go to sleep at 9:30, you need to stop by 9:30, if not well before 9:30, so you can wind down your mind getting it ready for sleep. If you are awake till 11:30, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, whatever, study in the times that are best for you, best for your study, best for your body clock, and that actually are best for your alert times during the day. Otherwise, you might fall asleep and you may be tempted to go to sleep during the study time, and that's really not helping with it being conducive to the study. And the biggest help that I ever got is try your best. Try your best. That's all that you can do. But set yourself up so that you can do your best. And that's what this Wisdom Wednesday is all about. I hope it's been helpful. All the best of luck with your exams and tests that may be coming up for you. Remember, www.learningboosters.com. I'm here to assist you if I can help you in some way. All the best. And I know that everyone out there will do their best. Okay, bye for now.